Our Bible chapter 24 of Matthew, and it says this, and Jesus foretells the destruction of the temple. It says, Jesus left the temple and was going away. When his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple, but he answered them, you see all these? Do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. What Christ is talking about, back in AD 70, the Romans came in and destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed the Second Temple, and just destroyed Jerusalem altogether. And that's what he was talking about, was that he was talking about the temple, how, he says there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. He's talking about when the temple was destroyed in the year 70 by the Romans. It says, signs of the close of the age. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the close of the age? And Jesus answered them, See that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. False Christ, of course. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. We see that already. We're hearing about wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. That's going on as we speak. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death. We're seeing that today. Christians are being put to death all across the world. And you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away. That's happening today. People are falling away from the faith and betray one another and hate one another. We see that today. You see the false Christians rising up and attacking the true Christians. We see that today. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because of lawlessness, which is sin, will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. You see that day. You see so much hate in the world, man. There's no love for people no more. It's always hate. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So mainly what Christ is saying here is he's saying that all these things are going to happen, but he will not return until the gospel is preached to the entire world. The best way to do that is through the internet, of course. That's what I'm doing. But he's saying that he will not return until his word is preached to the entire world. And if you do some research, there's actually 2,000 languages are left that haven't heard the word of God. Think about that. Only 2,000 languages left. So it's pretty interesting. So, no one knows the day of hour. No one knows that. Only God knows that. But I mean, every day we get closer to the return of Christ. Of course, no one knows the day when he's going to return. Only God knows that. But I mean, we're living in the end times. There's no doubt about that. But when Christ, what day Christ returns, no one knows that. Only God knows that. But we are living in the end times. The abomination of desolation. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel, staying in the holy place, let the reader understand. What we're talking about here is many people believe this is talking about the Antichrist when he comes, when he appears in the world, and supposedly, a lot of people believe that there's going to be a third temple built and all that stuff, and the Antichrist will come to the temple, say he's God and all, but it says right here, says, so when you see the abomination of desolation spoken above by the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand, and let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down to take what is in his house. Let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas, for women who are pregnant, and for those who are nursing infants in those days, pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulations, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now. no, and never will be. Somebody supposedly the Great Tribulation is what it's talking about. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being will be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short, meaning those that God has already saved. What he's saying here is, he says, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short, meaning God's going to protect his children during those times. He's going to watch over them, and because they're his children. And but he says, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short, meaning he's going to watch over his children during that time. If anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will rise and perform great signs and wonders so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. Think about that. Even some of the true Christians, those who are saved, even some of them will be fooled. They will be fooled into thinking and to learn to believe in all these false stuff. But that's pretty interesting. That some the true Christians, some of them will be even led astray. See, I have told you beforehand. So if they say to you, look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Meaning, look, we don't know when Christ is going to return. We don't know the day. We don't know that. We know that we're living in the end times, but we don't know what day he's going to return. Only God knows that. But we're supposed to live every day. We're supposed to live every day thinking that he's going to return on that day. But no one knows the day or hour when he's going to return. Only God knows that. But we're supposed to live our lives every day for him, because you never know when he's going to return. The coming of the Son of Man. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Meaning, what he's talking about here is when Christ returns, he's going to send out his angels to gather those who are saved and bring them to him, so that he can protect them, of course. But yet, when he returns, those who are saved will be gathered by the angels and be taken where Christ is at. They will even help him judge the world, and they will be saved from his wrath on earth. The lesson of the fig tree. From the fig tree, learn its lessons. As soon as this branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Meaning that generation that's going to see all these signs will live to see it. We're going to, the signs are already happening. And the signs start happening when Christ went back to heaven. That's when the end time started, and we're getting closer and closer to his return. We don't know what day he's going to return, but we are getting closer and closer to it. But how awesome would it be to live to see the return of Christ? That would be awesome. No one knows that day or hour. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven or the Son, but only the Father. Think about this. The angels in heaven don't know when Christ is going to return. Jesus doesn't even know. But only God himself. It goes to the Trinity, of course. God the Father, he's the only one that knows when Christ is going to return. Basically, when God the Father tells Christ, look, go down and get my children, then Christ will go. Because Jesus doesn't even know. He doesn't even know him. He doesn't even know the day he will return. Only God himself knows that. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Meaning, people will be living their lives, all of a sudden, boom, Christ returns. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, and one will be taken and one will be left. It could be talking about the rapture, Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master has set over his household, to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces, basically kill him, and put him with the hypocrites, which is hell. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So we do not know the day nor hour. Only God himself knows that. We are called to live our lives every day for the Lord, because we don't know when he's going to return. But we're supposed to live every day for our lives for him, because like I said, you never know when he's going to return. Anyway, chapter 24 and about chapter 25 here shortly.